Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio after a 2 week break where I traveled around the world, and by the world I mean part of the southern U.S. and then an hour and a half drive from me, or about an hour and a half drive. Which, listen, that's as far as you're getting out of me, I think, I suppose, unless I get a lot of money, because traveling the world is expensive. Traveling just the U.S. is expensive. But enough of that aside, we are here traveling the world digitally across the airwaves with Indiepocalypse Radio. I am your host, Andrew, of course, the creator. Wait, now, shit. I had nailed how intros work um, 3 weeks ago, and then I forgot how 3 weeks ago. Indiepocalypse Radio. There we go. Oh, wait, I remember how you do it now. Welcome to Indiepocalypse Radio. It's somewhere between your post-con hangout and an interview show. I'm your host, Andrew, the creator, editor, etc. of Indiepocalypse. That's the sequence. You say what the show is, then you say what you are, and then you say what the guests are. We are here with our first guest, writer and critic, Luis Aguavigas. Luis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. I had now for a long time. I don't want to have games writers and critics on the show because it creates a weird dynamic when then I then ask them for things later, which I found when I emailed people about the Tape Club, and I was like, it feels weird emailing people I've spoken to personally now, even though I guess that's part of what people do intentionally, but uh, it always feels strange to me, like you're treating someone's your relationships as transactional, you know. But
Well, I mean, it kind of are if you want to be rudimentary about it, but you can email me. It's fine.
yes,
It's good. It's good to be acknowledged. It's like, oh, hey, you're a person that's alive. Here's an email that's not spam.
yeah, and I generally just prefer to hang out with people anyway. It's like very. Also, the people who like me are not staff newswriters on big websites. They're people who write freelancers on or write like longer form
Yeah.
uh,
That's
articles.
exactly what I do.
Yes,
I do not do news. You do not catch me
right.
dead doing guides or news. No disrespect to anybody that does that. You have to make a living. But
Yeah, no,
I
I
that that's not it for me.
that is right. In the same way, I cannot go on TikTok and do like, hey, here's my progress shots of indie podcasts and like whatever I would do a TikTok version of whatever I do. I cannot do it.
Well, soon you won't even have to worry about that because it's going to be banned here in the U.S.
Ah, yes, the one silver lining to the overreach of the government in banning our apps is that
Yeah, I just want them to ban them all, though. Like, if you're doing that one, get rid of all the other ones,
yes,
please.
I would either get rid of them all or make it so there's a website that just posts them all at the same time. I do not want to engage with websites. I am
That's the dream.
I'm tired of them.
Yeah,
When
likewise.
people don't respond to my whenever I start getting low, if I get low engagement, as they say, I go, phew, don't have to use the site anymore. Uh,
See, that's if more people thought the way you did about this, I think the world would truly be a better place. I'm not even being sarcastic. Just like stop with engagement, stop posting 3,000 things.
yeah,
I don't care about that you had a latte this. I mean, I'm happy for you,
yeah.
right? But I don't like. Please stop. Like, I just don't want to
It is
know.
very much like also from like a what's the word a content creator angle. I make I mentioned going to like shows these last 2 weekends. I made way more at those shows than I get off of like posting online. It's I think it's I am in like the world of like a slow grind of a few people. For better or for worse, what I do, I don't think is ever gonna hit a wide audience.
but it hits the right audience,
Yeah.
and it hits the right audience. So it's you've been doing some really good work for a long, long time.
Well,
I'm just gonna let you know.
thank you. Now, I'm so glad I very rarely can ask this question of non-Indiepocalypse contributors, but since you had contacted me, which also, if you're out there and you're like, I want to get, how do I get on Indiepocalypse Radio? I want to do this. Just email me. I'm like, makes my work easier. That means there's one less guest I have to schedule because they invited themselves on. But how did you hear about Indiepocalypse?
I've been keeping track of some of the mixtapes you do, and a lot of the people you've had on are people that I admire,
Yeah.
for a long time. I mean, some critics you've had on here, you've had like Emily Price, you had Phoenix Sims, which are people that so I occasionally also write for Unwinnable.
Yes, and
So
I
yeah.
slowly invite the unwinnable writing staff onto the show.
Hey, well, there's, you could do a lot worse. Like
Yeah.
personally, Unwinnable and Bulletproof Monthly are pretty much the best, in my opinion, like the very best games criticism sites on the web right now. So,
Yeah,
like you're, yeah,
and fairly long running too.
yeah. I think Unwinnable has over 10 years now going and going strong. So, I mean, I guess I'll do a pitch from here. If any listeners out there you want to see some just really inventive writing, just some of the best writing that's ever been committed to the English language when it comes to video games or culture, media more widely. Check out Unwinnable. You won't regret it.
Yeah,
And if you do, you can contact me, and I'll send you an article specifically tailored to you, and that'll change your mind.
yeah, because it is very much thinking about games. I've been talking on the show constantly about how uh, the video game canon we just kind of need to throw it away and start fresh. Almost it feels like.
Yeah, I mean the canon is about power,
Yeah,
It's about power and about self-worth, right? It's like these are the things that whoever or whatever like website like deems to be important, like based on like their taste. I mean, some picks are like no-brainers. Obviously, you're gonna have like Space Invaders and Super Mario 64. Like nobody's gonna disagree with things like that. But
yeah,
overall, it does perpetuate like a specific like type of narrative. A lot of the games that you highlight here with the creators, some of that stuff should be part of the canon, right? A free game on itch, or like a small game, call it that, like on
yeah,
itch.io, or web browser game. Those should be, if one's gonna make like a canon, those should be there. I definitely try as much as I can to try to highlight s- those type of games on there. I mean, I've had some of those games on my games of the year list
yeah,
before,
yeah.
and
They're
my editor's like, "Oh, do people know about this?" Like, it's good. Don't worry. Just
right.
just keep that out.
You don't need to worry about whether it's like is that the the point of a game of the year list isn't SEO, you know? It's your games of the year.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's unfortunately I do understand some of the, let's just call it politics, like behind that,
Yeah,
right? So it's like you mean you have to, people have to like click on the site and engage with it in some way for the site to still, be ongoing, unless you're able to just hemorrhage money and time.
exactly.
But for
Or
me, I do this. It's cliche, but I do it like for the love of it.
yeah,
So it's like I want to like really be someone who highlights stuff that I consider to be very important, like when it comes to like the medium. And there's so much stuff on there. I mean, there's so many works, and I seldom actually write about like the triple A game because everybody's gonna write about them.
right.
And if I do something really weird that gets me a lot of hate mail. So.
Yeah, that's it. That like that's it's a thing to a weird thing to navigate as a writer of like when you write about, um, you know, X big release. Like you have sometimes it often feels like you like how your work is already being slotted into a pre-release narrative. Of is this game good or is this game bad huge swaths of people have already decided that before a game even comes out, and I don't think that's a cursed thing limited to games. But uh, how
No,
do you?
but yeah, but game.
Yeah,
I was gonna say briefly on that that games do have a very interesting relationship to that type of what's called like consumer based review because a
yeah,
lot of early video games writing was very much like consumer centric, like very much consumer review based almost on how historically technology has been covered in sites. It's like its functionality and whatever, it's worth the money,
yeah.
right? And that's still, you see that in what of the cursed discourse online or whatever, like how much time, how much value and time you're getting when you spend however X amount of money on it and stuff. But you don't really have that. You don't really have that level of brain dead discourse when you're talking about like other mediums, like at least as pervasive as you still have like with
Right.
games.
I exclusively watch. I don't watch short films because I don't get my bang for my buck. You know.
Yeah,
I
which you but you probably get those for free or from you stream from somebody's other account. So
yeah.
yeah, I like short stuff. Like
No.
I'm still a fan of the 10 minute 9 minute cartoon episode because that's like perfect time for me to like eat something or like unwind really
Yes.
fast between
Ah.
take a
Yeah.
break and then move on.
I yearn for like the 20-minute drama, or you know, the the 20-minute like non-comedy.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's tough. Do they did they still like what's still going on now that's like a 20-minute
Like
non-comedy?
like not much. Like not really. I don't know. It's I guess if you like want to watch anime, uh, that's where you can find that sort of thing. That sounded more derisive towards
Yeah.
anime than I wanted it to. But I mean, like
Well,
sometimes.
yeah.
But if you like, it feels like, oh, besides that, there's like, uh, I don't know if they make that much of it. Like in the like in the U.S. I don't think the U.S. makes that much of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a good point. Because now that you mentioned that, I don't remember the last time. I mean, this network TV's quote unquote dead, right? So you don't have that. You don't have that type of stuff anymore when it comes to sitcoms. Wasn't that show This Is Us or whatever that was out a few years ago? Wasn't that a 20-minute show, or am I wrong? Was that like 40 minutes?
no, I think
And
it,
that was
it.
supposed to be like a drama stuff. I've never seen it, never will, but you know,
I know it exists. I know it exists as a name. That's as much as you'll get out of me here.
I just remember because it was like I live in New York City,
Yeah,
so it was like all just like every surface of a building was like plastered with just like ads about that show, and I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this.
yeah. I don't. That's I living more rurally. I don't have a lot of. He wrote Cars. What's going on? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked in Wikipedia, but that is, yeah, it's a. I don't have that same experience with like plasters of billboards, so that it's a weird thing. And stuff can entirely like it. We're talking about TV, but it's also about how much like advertising really dictates what people are interested in, you know, or what people get drawn to.
That
Because
is true.
how many AAA games would get as far as they did if they had zero advertising? You know, if they had the same advertising budget as like a bedroom indie with no money.
Ooh,
But
Triple A, yeah, I can't think of that. I mean, we've had, to be honest, I think um, specific studios they actually when they want to kill a game, they put like no advertisement
right,
on it. I'm actually thinking of the last I'm a big Dragon Quest fan,
yeah,
so the last Dragon Quest game, which is Dragon Quest Monsters that came out last year in December, had almost no presence when it comes to like advertisement here in the US. I mean, outside of Japan, it was huge. I think it sold like 1 million copies already, like in the first like 2 months. But
right.
here, I couldn't find that. Like, I couldn't get a physical copy. I had to. I had. Well, I'm not gonna get into the tangent of like what I did to try to get a physical copy of Dragon Quest monsters.
Well, what? Listen, we'll go down.
But
I have a lot of I've transitioned to like you know what I like physical having physical copies of things because it means that I don't have to ever worry about them. I've had you know movies and albums like disappear because they were digital. So then I was like, no, I'm strictly going to physical. Well, you can get region free ones, right?
yeah, you can. And this good thing about the Switch, I got the North American release. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I just came upon it, but I'm the same way as you. So I actually my very first career, quote unquote, if we're gonna call that, was actually like in the radio. It's
Okay.
a local radio in Tampa, Florida, WMNF 88.5. Um, and we would have like this massive library of CDs, vinyls, and all this stuff. And some of that stuff wasn't on streaming then, which streaming still was a nascent thing. But even now, when I think about like that, that collection, some of that stuff's still not on streaming now. I mean, and you don't know when if it's gonna get what if it's gonna get pulled for whatever reason. And video games, I've always been hesitant to like adopt just like full digital
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm to the point, if I really like the game, I will. Even if I initially get the digital copy, I'll get the physical eventually. Because look what's happening now, right? Not only with stores getting shut down, which how everyone feels about that. I'm thinking about, like the 3DS store and the
Yeah.
Wii U store, but then also you're moving to specific models of when it comes to video game like distribution where some companies don't even want players really to own the games. Like I know Ubisoft is somewhat pushing this type of stuff. And like I just want to be able to play something where I don't have to log into the internet, right? I can just play it, whenever as long as like the hardware and the software is like it's working. I don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I feel like so much of that is like we we need like gaming as a medium. I feel like just needs to adopt a box. Like here's a box that has emulators on it, like it were a Blu-ray player. You know.
well, get the Mister,
Right. Right.
get the Mister,
But
get
like
it while it's hot.
yeah, I mean I have you know my PC that may or may not run games digitally that I have, but you underestimate the preservation power of like the 4-in-1 action pack movie set. You know, that's
Mm.
like games don't have those like bargain bins, like constant bargain bin re-release kind of things. You know all the
Yeah, and
re-releases.
and they
Yeah,
should have that. I mean, this is somewhat related, but I used to live out in West Africa for a bit, and what they would do is, I mean, this is completely illegal, but but they would
yeah,
have like these DVDs would have like 300 movies in them, and they would like sell them, and it's all like whatever Jackie Chan,
yeah.
and it's like every single Jackie Chan movie in one DVD, and you get that, and you're just like, wait, I can see like Police Story and Rush Hour 3 in the same DVD plus 300 other movies.
Yeah.
I mean, no brainer. I don't like Rush Hour 3, but I do like the other stuff. So, but it's still, you know, we should have something similar to that. And what some would argue that maybe some of these subscription services like Nintendo Online or whatever, or or the Xbox One, but it's the Game Pass. But
Yeah.
those are very contingent on what they want to put on there. And it's also we just know the track record from these
Right.
companies, right? Like you might have access to this, but then like next month or a year from now they're like scrap it and it's like, oh, you have to like reapply for this and it's like and now you have like two games
Uh,
you only two games and all the other games it's like we're gonna slowly drip feed them to you and it's like
and
why
I'm very dubious about streaming, um, and how it treats creators as well. Its
treat
future
them
for
like crap.
like
Yeah,
I don't,
treat them like crap.
right. I don't think there was those big you know SAG WGA strikes because they love streaming so much. And I don't
No,
think
they
I don't think games would be like, oh no, Game Pass is going to treat all these games with true politeness and niceness, and
no, they won't treat them. I mean, it's rare that they would even pay the devs well, yet alone like keep games. So I know I've heard from some devs though that when the Stadia was still going on, that they were getting pretty decent, like pretty decent advances to have like the games on there
yeah,
initially, but that's a dead platform.
right,
So I don't know what that's gonna say about like the future of that
right, and
anyway. So
that's a very limited number of releases that are getting these
exactly.
advances, and who's to say there isn't a eventual theoretical version of Game Pass or a Game Pass like service there, which like that becomes a marketplace. So you then it becomes Spotify, Uh,
Mm,
you're just like, oh yeah,
yeah, well,
I submitted. It's like, oh, they say Game Pass is open now. You can submit your game to Game Pass, and it's like, oh wow, my game's on Game Pass. I get 3 cents per download of my game.
wow. Yeah. It's,
Also, I paid to be
it,
on it.
yeah, it's a bleak. It's like a very bleak economic like prospect when one thinks about it. And that's why if one's able to directly pay the dev for the game or make a donation, like make
Yeah,
sure that one does. And yeah, it's something that I think about a lot. Just the economics of games, not just regarding like how much it takes to make them, but also like for us as consumers, how much are we paying? Is it fair? And not, I don't mean like fair in that in the value when it
right,
comes to us. It's more when it comes to, the people who make it. And it's also, is that price like sustainable in the sense of being able to nurture and future development by the people who make it, and then just frankly sustainability as well, just like environmental sustainability as well. I think that's something that's very much under reported and under discussed when it comes to the environmental aspects of the video game industry.
right, right. Those computers do not run for free. No, nor do certain servers are not magical boxes. They just
Yeah.
create video games.
I mean, the cloud is as destructive as any other like form of industrial you know like creation that we've had. It's easier for us to not think about it because I mean it's in the name, right? It's like the cloud's almost like a
Yeah,
mythical
and
situation.
the visual of it is like a series of like a bunch of boxes in a room, not like your traditional like smog billowing factory.
No, but it's just like it's redirecting water supplies
Yeah,
to these like mega computer centers where you have situations where actually I've well somebody can fact check me on this later, but I think I'm correct. Where it's like I think like Bitcoin mining in Iceland actually takes more energy consumption than the actual consumption done by people who actually live there when it comes to like their use of electricity.
yeah, yeah. That
So
that stuff, the electric use of all that stuff is just astronomical. Um, Speaking of electricity and the Earth, I've got a couple of questions here, a couple of standby Indiepocalypse questions as we approach the end of our segment. Luis, I hope you're prepared. Uh,
I am. Well, actually, I don't know what these questions are,
okay, so
but
you're
yeah,
not
I'll
prepared,
try
but
my best.
get ready. What's your favorite type of rock?
Oh, my favorite type of rock is, I have a formula for it actually.
Okay.
So it's like climbability, disability, um, viewability once you're on top of the rock. Also, how the camaraderie the rock has with other rocks around it. So it's like come together to make a mountain.
Yeah.
So you have like, and then it's there like a really nice like walk that you can do on top of them, and you're overseeing like maybe some beautiful nature or potentially some like nice, I guess, human-made structures. So in short, I'm gonna say the Palisades here in in New York, New Jersey area here. So you can just walk on them and then you can see a lot of the Hudson Valley and even parts of New York City. It's a hell of a time. Highly recommend it.
Ooh, they do look very good. And the follow up question: do you have a favorite Toho character?
Ooh. We're talking here Toho, like the Japanese film studio.
Oh no, we're talking Toho, the Japanese Dojin Bullet Hell franchise.
Oh, okay. I was gonna go with like Godzilla, but that's not what we're gonna do. Well,
No,
that's
that
actually Toho. Yeah.
that is Toho. That
So,
is Toho T O H
okay.
O. But we're talking Toho T O U H O U. But this
Ooh,
is
do I have a favorite? No, I don't. I'm
uh,
not a big
yeah. There
Bullet
you go.
Hill person, unfortunately. I mean, I've played some of like the classics, but it's too much on my poor sensitive eyes.
Yes, no, it is a specific skill set uh, to get into that flow state.
What is some of your favorites, just so I can look this up afterwards?
I am a fan of the extended Scarlet Devil Mansion family, of course. Your Remilias, your Sakiyas, and etc's. You know, they're all time-stopping maids and immortal vampires. They all have cool wings. It's the gothiest, extra-iest of the canon that I know.
That's I definitely feel unprepared with that question.
No,
So
it's
I'm gonna after this I'm just gonna read up everything on it and I'm gonna become the world's most foremost expert
it
on
is very
Toho.
cool because not to go too far into Toho, but there are bullet hells, but you can also and any person can go out and make a Toho game in any genre, generally
Mm,
speaking. So it's cool like that. It creates a very interesting sort of dynamic and like sort of shared universe sort of thing. It's neat. Toho's neat. Uh, that said, Luis, thanks for joining me here. We're gonna go on break. Should I find my VL, not VLC, my foobar? I found my foobar. We're gonna go on break. Thanks for joining me here today. Um,
yeah, thanks for having me.
uh, we'll be back in about 2 minutes and 7 seconds from now. Goodbye.
That's
Hello,
okay.
welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. I keep forgetting to turn that off. Repeat. I think that was probably Soul Glow's mathed it up twice. Mathed up twice is not the name of the song, but it's more that I accidentally probably played it twice. Uh, that all said, we are back with our next guest. Also, not related to Indiepocalypse in the slightest, as I like to do on the show with increasing as I've caught up to my list of asking everyone involved from YouTube. I realized like your thing doesn't have you have a lot of you have a lot of titles for individual things, but what is your Sean Johnson? What is your overall title? Would you say for your YouTube works?
Oh, I always refer to myself as generic Irish PlayStation man of
Okay,
YouTube.
I got
It's too
close.
it's that's it. I mean, that's a close enough point. Or you could
Yeah,
call me Mystery Man of YouTube, whichever you prefer. I think
that
that just sounds cooler.
that all works. I was like, what do I call? I was like, I was gonna put like YouTuber, but like, is YouTuber derogatory in 2024? I don't know anymore.
I think it could. I feel like if someone came up to me in the street and went, "Are you a YouTuber?" I'd be like, "How dare you?
Right? Yes.
How dare?"
It's the kind of profession you'd be. What do you do? I make a lot of long form videos.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like please don't embarrass me in front of my family.
yes,
They don't need to know about my other life.
yes, but welcome. If people are unfamiliar, how would you describe, I guess, what you do? Your
Cool.
elevator pitch.
My elevator pitch. I've done about five of these, and they all sound different and are getting exceedingly worse.
No,
But
that's the true mark of it's funny because when people do a lot of like shows like conventions, I can tell because they're out the gate with what sounds like something they said 8 million times.
Yeah. I guess the best way to describe what I do is I explore the depths of the PlayStation library, the original
Yes.
PlayStation. I once upon a time made a video about all the Disney games on the PlayStation because I was really, really bored during the pandemic and thought that'd be a cool thing to do. And then I accidentally fell down a rabbit hole once I realized how many games were on there and how many people were not talking about them. So I
Yeah.
was like, well, look, someone's got to do it.
Yes. No.
Might as well be me.
I've I've talked about the show, and even in the prior segment about this idea of restarting the canon. Gaming canon's kind of static, and this kind of thing is what I think about. Like people just need to just go back and like play all the games. I think we missed a lot of them.
Yeah, you'd be surprised just how many games we miss. Like, I mean, back then you were getting like, I don't know, nearly like a couple 100,000 a year. Most people know about like 5 games per year
Right.
per like part of the decade. So yeah, there's probably a lot you don't know about, and that was what I realized one day and went, man, I gotta fix that.
Yeah, especially in regional differences too. Like uh,
It's
Europe.
crazy.
There's a lot of European games that do not make their way over to the U.S. Either.
Yeah, a lot of that for good reason,
Yes.
but there's a lot of great stuff too. Like even me, like I'm like born and bred in the EU, but I had no realization of like British gamer culture and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the ZX Spectrum, the microcomputers. So like I just stumbled upon that one day, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? What
Right.
on earth is chubby gristle? You know?
Why is the UI 90% of the screen?
Exactly. Yeah. Why do I move a few feet and I die? The
Yeah.
classic British gaming experience.
Why do they like this? Why do they all like this? I gotta ask. Why do you all like that egg so much? That little egg
Oh
guys.
my God. Dizzy?
Yes.
I've never once played a Dizzy game in my life, but I've every time I see it, I go, like, I'm not vibing with this egg. Something up with him.
Right.
I
No.
hear a lot about Dizzy. I hear a lot about the Oliver twins who created Dizzy. But like that egg's on a pedestal. He's like super Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah.
If he falls, he's gonna have a bad time.
And
But
that is that is very much like an entire pocket of like how many Dizzy games are there? Like probably more than
oh,
probably 10 more than I think there are.
a lot. I don't think I can think of a series where, like, depending on what part of the globe you're on, you think this is the best thing ever or the worst thing ever made. There's such
Right.
a gulf. Yeah, I find it fascinating. I'm like a casual observer. Like I don't want to be that guy who like dunks on like a ZX Spectrum game, because I get the importance of it in the canon, as we'll call it, at least if you're on that side of the world. But
Yeah.
like, man, I ain't playing that.
They were putting out Dizzy games as recently or releasing them as recently as 2020.
And they will sell.
Yeah.
They will sell a lot. Dizzy is like a market leader in that part of the world. Like you think you got your Sonics, you got your Marios over there. They got Dizzy, the egg.
Yeah, it is. One day Dizzy will make his Dragon Quest like crossover into the U.S.
I was waiting for him to pop up in Smash Bros. Like they
Right.
wait for Steve, and it's like you've all been asking for him. It's Dizzy the egg. There's like the angriest dude you've ever seen in the United States, and the happiest guy you've ever seen over in Great Britain.
There
I
was
would have loved that.
a nonstop celebration. We finally did it, boys. We're here.
They would have fireworks going off. The Queen would be coming out. Like, we've did it, guys. This is prior to her passing, of course.
Yes,
So I'm
yes,
thinking of
yes.
the ultimate date range. So at least it makes sense. But
Yeah. So, Did, what was the last DLC? Was it Sora? Was Sora the last character?
I think so. Yeah, I think Sora was the last one, and I feel like Sora was a great character. I know a lot of people were really excited for Sora, but I was hoping for something weird. I feel like Sora was a safe pick.
I think
Why
I
wasn't it Dizzy?
I think it's very funny that Sora is still voiced by Haley Joel Osment after all these years.
Good for him. He's been putting in work.
Yeah, I like.
He's
Well,
he's been.
no, I came to him later in life as like an adult actor, and I'm like, oh, it's funny that he's still Sora. He
Oh,
just
cool. So you didn't get like the Ghost Kid,
no,
Haley Joel Osment.
I never.
That was the classic.
No, we saw The Village in an empty theater with friends once. That's as much M Night as I've ever seen.
Oh, and that's the best way to experience any movie, I find. If you can
Yeah.
have an entire movie theater to yourself, and especially like for an M Night movie, I'd be having a blast.
Oh,
I'd be a laugh riot.
it was a true just three of us in an empty seat in the back of a theater, just hanging out, watching
That
the
that's bliss.
the exciting twist of. So when did he? Oh, I wish I could find out when he came out, because I need to know. Sean,
Let's find out.
as an expert or as a greater expert on EU, do you think the Queen knew who Sora was?
I think there's a good chance that there's an that she might have stumbled upon. Losing my words here. Stumbling upon Sora at one point or another.
Yeah.
But I always feel like I feel like there's this weird thing in my head where I just try to imagine the Queen thinking like, is she aware of any pop culture whatsoever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
I was watching a show at the moment, like a reality TV show called Big Brother. I think you have it in the US
Yes.
as well, but the UK version is very, very different. And there was a whole subplot in the current season where they're just talking about trying to get one person to meet the Queen. And they kept talking about, does the Queen watch the show? And then they convinced themselves that she does watch the show.
Yeah.
And it was like,
It,
yeah.
it,
It's like,
it's a,
obviously she does. She's got to do something, you
right.
know?
Right.
What does she do in her spare time? She's playing Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
Yes, of course. We don't know if the Queen was an expert on Kingdom Hearts. She could have been.
Does she own a PSP?
Yeah.
Probably. She
Yeah.
has to do something while out on business.
I like to think every now and then of did this famous person know this inane piece of pop culture? And they
That's
could
crazy.
have.
Didn't she get like a custom Wii at one point?
Oh,
I believe they made a solid gold Wii just for the Queen.
The tax dollars being put to good use, of course.
Oh my God. Look, I mean, if I see like a crown with diamonds in it, I wouldn't be impressed. But if I see like a Wii encrusted with diamonds and stuff, I'll be like, well, at least I can appreciate what you were going for there.
Right.
I wouldn't mind my tax money being spent on that.
At least it does something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, can a crown play Wii Sports?
I don't
If it
think-
could, it'd be the greatest crown of all time.
Right. Oh, what if we? Well, I mean, once we have
We need to see if that's possible. Can a crown project Wii Sports?
once we get VR, of course, we can just have put a
Oh,
little
yeah.
visor on the inside of the crown. We can truly, but yes, video games, I suppose.
Oh yeah, those things.
those things, queens and
That old
kings.
chestnut.
No, I have an important question for you. This is a crucial question I have to ask of all the extended UK resident UK adjacent people. Now,
Yes.
wait, no. Now, do you have Tesco's where you are?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
So just to clarify,
Yeah.
I'm Irish but live in the United Kingdom at
Yes.
present. I live in England. We have Tesco's in both Ireland and the UK. And one of the big things about where I live right now is that I'm close to what we refer to as a big Tesco,
Okay.
which is like a normal Tesco that ate other Tesco's to form some sort of super Tesco. You could
Yes.
get lost in there for days if you're not careful.
It's like how playing SimCity, if you make your Tesco zone large enough, it'll make one big Tesco.
Exactly. There's a possibility that this Tesco is sentient, you know? It has that kind of vibe to it.
So I need to ask, Jean, as I learned about this like 2 years ago, it's become a mild fascination. What is your ideal Tesco meal deal?
Ah, I feel like the general meal deal for almost every Tesco is you get like a sandwich, probably some sort of like packet of crisps, like a
Yeah.
Walker's, which is the Lay's variant over here, and a drink. But I'm not like a cold sandwich guy.
Yeah.
It's not really my thing. I don't think I've ever once had a Tesco meal deal.
Oh.
I've had maybe like a yogurt
Okay.
and something, but I would like just go out of my way to get something hot. I'd get like a little McDonald's or like a little Subway or something. I've never been a meal deal guy, but everybody around me gets them, and they're almost always like the worst sandwich flavors you've ever heard
Of course. That's why I'm
It's like, do you like? We got ham and cheese, we got tuna, like egg, and I'm reading this, I'm like, my God, like if I open this in the vicinity of somebody, the whole room's gonna smell bad for a while, and that is a constant thing that happens. Almost anytime someone brings in a Tesco meal deal, you're guaranteed that the room's gonna smell crazy for at least 30 minutes.
But that's what the bargain pays for. The bargain price.
That's pretty much it. That's it, and at the end of the day, you're saving your few pence in your pocket,
Yeah.
and that's what it's all about.
my hotel was next to a Circle K 2 weekends ago, and I treated myself to. They have a weird thing there now. I've never seen this before. That they have like a platform that you just place your food on and it scans it. Like it scans all your
Whoa.
items.
Well, I think I've seen one of these before as well, where but like in a clothes shop,
Yeah.
where I feel like they can trust you to maybe like not run away with it. But in a food place, that's pretty.
Yeah, it was weird. It was
pre-
like just like a gas station, and they're just like I just put my food on a thing, and it scanned all of them.
That's wild. A little while ago, one of the big things in Ireland specifically, right? Ireland has like a real love relationship with something known as a chicken fillet roll, which is just like a baguette with like a bit of southern fried chicken in it and like some ketchup and mayo and lettuce or whatever. It's like a almost like a cultural dish over there. And people like if you were to go to like a newsagent's, a garage, a delicatessen, that's basically what you go for. You get a chicken fillet roll. But recently, I seen a news report that showed that one of the places that does chicken fillet rolls now uses a tubing system where they package up the rolls and it goes up through like some sort of funnel tubing to the customers who have like a ticket to get it.
Okay.
It's like the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. Like if you just imagine like about 30 people there at lunchtime
Yeah.
and then a chicken fillet roll appears through a tube. It's almost like it's almost like dystopian, but that's like how high the demand for chicken fillet rolls are. They have to do a tubing system to get it. It's absolutely insane.
There, I am watching an 8K video of a chicken fillet roll rotating currently.
Oh my God. That's, people would have that on in the background, their TVs in Ireland. That's like,
To get a sense
you'd have
of
a picture of Jesus and then a rotating picture of chicken fillet roll.
it is.
Watch over you at night.
See, no, this is because this is the kind of stuff that I want. I love just like not trash food feels pejorative, but also trash food. um,
It's I always prefer the
yeah.
term comfort food,
Yes.
something that is like I know this isn't healthy. I know this probably isn't good for me, but I know that I'm gonna feel good after reading it. I
I
have like maybe I don't need vitamins, but like all this stuff is gonna make me feel good emotionally, and
yeah. I am way
that's
more.
that's that's good. That's important.
I'm so fascinated by different regions like comfort foods more than like whatever Michelin star restaurants they have.
Oh, it's crazy. Ireland is like low key one of the best places in the world for comfort food because we do ridiculous amounts of potato based food. I know that
Yeah.
probably seems like a stereotype, right? But we
No,
really
no.
are good at making potato based dishes and like French fries and or chips as we call them mostly over there. Like just insane chip dishes with like all sorts of meat and cheese, like absolutely like terribly unhealthy. But if you're out with a few friends and you're having a few drinks and you're like, man, I need something to like soak up all the negative vibes in me. You just get like this ridiculous plate of like potatoes and meat and cheese, push it into you, and then you feel like you're reborn,
Yeah.
like alive and ready to go. This is why like most of the nights out there, people stay until about like 4 or 5 in the morning. It's because they've had like a ridiculously sized kebab and some chips beforehand, and they're just rejuvenated.
Yeah, and then you get too full and then you crash. But it's the there's nothing more comforting than the crash of a full stomach.
That's a deep sleep. You know you're gonna sleep like nothing else.
Right.
You're either gonna wake up feeling amazing or the worst you've ever felt in your entire life.
I
But that's a risk worth taking, I think.
Yes, I would always risk a sleep. Uh, but oh wow, oh no, we are, Sean. We are. I hope you are prepared. We are by my estimate, we are approaching the end of our segment here.
Wow, that's a classic. We waffling on about like insane things. That's a
Yes,
good segment to me.
that's. I mean, it's why I do this show. Like very, I advertise as a post-con hanger because most of the time, post-con I'm not like talking shop all the time. I'm like
Yeah.
just
Well, at least now I've been able to get the good word of chicken fillet rolls out there.
yes, no,
That's my duty as an Irishman.
it is occupying the space in my brain that was previously conquered by like the Australian election dogs.
Oh well, anything Australia is crazy.
Oh, what are
What a wild country.
or it's not election or election franks. I forget what they call them, but they're just like
Oh,
it's
I
a
don't
big
know.
sausage or hot dog just in white bread,
That's crazy.
and they're
Do you ever
just
hear of fairy bread over in Australia? Another delicatessen, which is just putting sprinkles on buttered bread. Amazing. The fairy bread.
No, I'm looking
So
at
good.
it's like make
It's a
fairy
real
bread. It's just white bread and sprinkles on it. What the fuck?
It's literally, I heard it's like, you're having like if you're like under the poverty line and you're having
Yeah.
a birthday party, instead of a cake, you have this.
Yes. No.
It sounds real good.
I'm okay. That is goodbye, chicken fillet. Hello, fairy bread. My God.
It's
Okay.
it's
I love this. Yes, it's fucking white bread and sprinkles. No, I've as a connoisseur, as a growing up connoisseur of the cheese and mustard sandwich. Um,
That's like the kind of thing where you're like, oh, that doesn't sound great, but then you try it and you'd be like, you know what? Maybe I was a bit harsh on cheese and mustard sandwich.
yeah, and it only
Maybe I was a bit hard on fairy bread.
right, and it only costs you like barely. It costs you like barely no money or barely any money. So it's an ideal thing that you want a kid to love to eat.
There you go. A comfort food for your kid and a
Yeah,
comfort for your pocket.
exactly. But speaking of comforts, things that are often not comfortable, rocks. What's your favorite type of rock?
Oh, great question. I'm a huge fan of, like a really smooth, shiny rock.
Yeah,
One that I think has been eroded and formed by the ocean. We have a lot of beaches in Ireland that are like sandy, but there's a lot that are just straight up just rocks and stones
yes,
that are just washed up from the ocean. And you can get some lovely circular, shiny, I'd almost call them like a pebble, you
yeah,
know? I would pick my favorite ones and I'd bring them home with me and then have like a little rock collection, which probably doesn't sound like the coolest thing in the world because I'm not like a geology guy,
yeah.
but I do love a shiny circular stone that's just been like in the ocean for ages and now has come out as this perfect little soft thing.
No, I've definitely had. I would not be surprised if buried somewhere in a drawer carried from house to house is just like rocks that just
Like
somehow.
if you find a good rock, you want to hang on to it.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just something that like I feel like every human can connect to. Like wow, that's a nice rock. I'm gonna take it home. It's gonna be my buddy.
and to follow that up, is the more difficult of the two questions, but also the optional one. Do you have a favorite Toho character?
My instinct is to say Godzilla, but I'm aware
Yes.
this isn't the correct
No,
Toho.
you both had time to prepare and time to. Should you
Th-
want
th-
to Google something?
This is the this is the thing. I had time to prepare myself and Google this, but
Yeah.
I'd be a fraud if I was to pick a miscellaneous Toho character because unfortunately, I must admit that I've never dabbled in the world of Toho. I'm aware of it. I've
Yeah.
viewed it from afar. It interests me to no end, but every time I think I know what Toho is, I immediately realize no, it's anything it wants to be, and it's
Yes.
been so like daunting. It's like, where do I even dip my feet into this? I'm sure there's like a lovely guide that people have made, a nice YouTube video or a lovely web article or
Yeah.
whatnot. But it's, I couldn't tell you a character because I don't know them. But
Yeah. I
I think this is gonna make me try a Toho game. I think being faced with this question has been like, you know what? I'm gonna have to answer this at some point somewhere else down the line. So
yeah. Someone's gonna ask you about Toho again, and I think the great Toho starter point is a kind of a genre that you like, and type and trying to find a Toho game in that genre.
And that's the thing. I feel like I like all of the genres of the Toho games that I've seen.
Yeah.
I feel like it has something, it's something for everybody, but all of it feels like it's for me as well. Which is more crazy to why I haven't tried it. I think
Yeah.
that's the problem. There's a lot of games
Yes.
all the time.
It's very daunting to just and also as someone who, as part of your whole deal, you might say, plays a lot of games just
Yeah.
randomly. But we're gonna go on break. Thank you for joining me here today. We will be back
It's been
in like about 3 minutes and 6 seconds with the whole crew. Bye for now. Was, of course, Jeff Rosenstock with The Lows. Now, we are back from break with a breaking, exciting. I did not tease it beforehand because I did not know it existed beforehand, but we've got a earth shattering reveal. Are you ready?
Right. So I'm gonna preface this by saying that Dizzy sucks
Oh
and
my god.
Wild Woody rocks. Yeah, that
Yes.
horrible pencil mascot character, way better than Dizzy. I'm laying out the gauntlet right here. And the bombshell is that the Queen actually was obsessed with JRPGs, starting with the release of Dragon Quest VIII, which is the first video game that she reportedly played. She did have a gold encrusted Wii, which was given to her by Nintendo. So goes the myth. Did she play it? Probably not. And
I
her favorite JRPG was Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance.
is this
You've heard it
true?
from me.
It's all adding
Facts.
up.
Oh
It's
my
all
god,
adding up.
that it is fascinating. Dragon Quest 8 was my intro to Dragon Quest as well. It
Do you know that
truly.
was the first Dragon Quest to come out in Europe as well, I believe. So this all adds up. This would have been like a big deal for the Queen. She would have been like, finally, we have Dragon Quest.
She,
Yep.
she even
Genghis made her understand the plight of the non-rich people.
Actually,
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. That's probably the first time she's talked to the common man.
The underpants dance
Oh,
really made an impression.
wait a minute. Is that why so many JRPGs have English voice acting? Like English
By
versus
decree of the Queen.
it's UK English, I should say. Oh my god, it explains so much.
There has been a stark increase in UK English in role-playing games.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16.
It's all this is my Illuminati. This is my conspiracy theory, and that's JRPG,
It's true. It's not even a conspiracy theory. You can look it up.
JRPGs are all they all have that English UK English voice acting because the Queen loves JRPGs so much, and it's being slowly secretly funded by the Royal Treasury.
It's all adding up. You heard it here first.
I've done the math, and it's
If I could ever interview like one of the Prince William and Harry, I feel like they'd be in the know. I feel like they were around for the time when they could really dig into, the glory days of the Japanese role playing game, around the mid-90s or so.
did you sit
Maybe they had an import Super Famicom.
right? Were you sitting around with your grandmother playing Dokapon Kingdom?
Yes.
That's a good one. I wish I played that with my grandmother.
I played it for the first time this week. It is hard. I feel like we were missing something. We
I
kept.
feel like they're a big mystery dungeon family.
Oh yeah, it has everything they like: traveling into mysterious lands, pillaging their resources through the use of expendable pawns.
Hits all the beats.
I'm looking at Wild Woody, and this guy's a pervert. I don't.
Oh my god. What do you know about Wild Woody? I discovered Wild Woody a couple of years ago, and he's been on my mind ever since.
I'm looking at this fellow, and he looks like a little pervert. I don't trust him.
This dude
So,
erases lives with his butt,
Yes.
his
Yeah.
eraser butt.
so apparently that game is unbeatable. I think after the second stage, like you just can't finish it. There's like a glitch in the game. So I think that's what, and also, yeah, the character being a complete and total like perv should be locked up. The artists who've created him and also the Wild Woody himself should also be locked up. But what isn't there to like about? You look at that and you're like,
Yeah.
this is fucked up.
It has an extensive article on Hardcore Gaming 101, which is always I consider to be a high watermark of quality.
For sure. They respect Wild Woody, and they respect Wild Woody's place in the Sega CD canon.
Yes.
When I think of the Sega CD, I think of Wild Woody. First thing that comes to mind, and I'm not even joking.
I mean, I love Wild Woody so much that I will get a tattoo of Wild Woody on my chest, and I'll never wear a shirt after that to show people my dedication.
Is it gonna be like Sprite Wild Woody, which I happen to think is quite cute, or is it CGI Nightmare Wild Woody, where he screams and like
has teeth.
he just screams? Yeah, yeah. A pencil with teeth. It's so creepy. It's like that real early CGI is usually a bit rough as it is, but this guy's like he's freaking out. This pencil is freaking out.
It's the hero that we deserve. I mean,
I
aren't we
think
all
that
freaking out right now when you just like
Yeah.
go outside or even vaguely like glance at the news? So while Woody was ahead of his time, he was he was really perceptive to the future.
I think
Okay.
so.
Now I have an important question for these expert Wild Woody panelists. Should I pay $699.99 US for an unopened copy of Wild Woody for the Sega CD?
Uh,
No. Yes, it's worth
I
it.
I I'm like I like to say like, look, no game is ever worth like in the hundreds basically, you
Yeah.
know, like there's a limit where you should be like, look, unless you really 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 love and adore this game, maybe you should think twice. But I will make an exception for Wild Woody because I do think we need to maintain and cherish all the copies of Wild Woody that are out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's not long until it's going to be in the Library of Congress, I think,
Yeah.
as a
No,
great American
it will
icon.
be the first. It will be the first game to be brought into the Library of Congress.
Are there video?
Also, it will be that's gonna be valued in like 2 seconds. That's gonna have the same value as like the Mona Lisa. I'm letting you know that right now. So I'll just spend my money. You know what? Give them more. Give them more than that. Give them
Okay.
an extra $666. Give
As like
them
Yeah.
a
that.
thank you, as like a thank you
Yeah,
for maintaining Wild Woody in such immaculate condition over the years.
It does have a
exactly.
new logo. 93. It looks like. um,
Wow.
but so because I was waiting for a pizza to be made, and video game prices are very expensive.
Oh, they're crazy. I used to be like a lapse collector. You
Yeah.
know, as soon as I got my first job, I was big into buying video games, and then after a while, I was like, do you know what? I think I'm okay with having like a few video games that I really like.
Yeah,
And
I bought them, like very literally like first job like in high school. I was like a real eBay fiend, which for me was a while ago. Uh, so it also meant that the only game I paid over $50 US, paid over retail for was Earthbound, I believe.
uh, I whatever you paid for it, it was probably a good investment.
Yes,
Yeah. Was it a complete copy?
no, it's just a cartridge only,
Okay, just a card.
because I
Yeah.
was not
I,
paying. I'm like over retail. That's ridiculous. I'm not paying over $50 for a video game that's old.
it's crazy, right? I paid a few years back, right? When I first got my first job, I never had a Sega Saturn growing up, and I was a Sega kid as a boy. So I always said to myself, the moment I have money, I'm buying that Sega Saturn. I'm gonna do it. And I bought that and like super cheap, like at the time, nobody cared about it.
Yeah.
And all, like it's insane how much value all of those games have just accrued over years. Sega Saturn's become like this crazy thing. I think I paid about $100 for a copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga, and at the time I was like, "That's
Wow.
the most I'm ever spending on a game."
Yeah.
Like that's insane. And then years passed, and I'm like, well, oh my god,
I
That's
at
an
that game
incredible
shop.
game.
Sorry, go ahead.
so good.
No, I just said it's an incredible game. I think it's worth. That's Sega, release that, please. If you're listening, please release
Yes.
that game
Panzer
again.
Dragoon collection,
Yeah.
like
Right.
you got to put one Zwei, the Game Gear one, Saga, and Orta. That's probably like the best collection of games ever made, legitimately.
Right.
If you could put that out.
Back to our first segment. Those we should be flushed with those kind of things.
Yeah, like if I really like a game, I'll want to give the people who made it money. I feel like I'll want to reward like a cool thing, so that people know that it's worth making more of these.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And there's so many games that are just not getting simple releases which will make big money. I don't even think people expect like crazy new features and extra added value. People are just like, just let me like play this on my Switch.
Right. Right.
I don't
Just
know. I don't know. If you look online, people want crazy stuff for their remaster. It's like, hey, how come this isn't in whatever, like 3,000, frames per second, and the graphics, why don't they look like if I'm outside?
no. I
Yeah.
I just want them. I want the original. I want to buy a thing and be like, hey, I got a thing. I like the idea of the Switch. I like those. I don't know if I'll play those games too much, but like those those NIS collections of like, hey, you want all 3 Rhapsody games? Here you go. Here they are.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise, actually.
Also, you get
Yeah,
La
that was-
Pucelle for fun, I suppose.
Yeah, it's here. Just to
Yeah,
round it out. Someone's got to play it.
right. And it's not going to be me, but no,
But somebody's got to do it.
someone might play it. No, maybe I will. I get very like my weekend comfort stuff is definitely like Japanese role playing games. There's something about
the
that.
same.
There's
So
so many
I'll
of
say,
them right now that are so good. It's a ridiculous time to be playing any of them.
Yeah,
yeah, they should stop. They should stop at this point. It's like, please release less of them because I don't have enough time to play them, and then I feel guilty. I want
Yeah.
to buy them and play all of them. I mean, I bought the remasters of Bites and Kaitos. So one in Origins that came out last year. Got that imported, and I still haven't finished playing those. And those are games that I really enjoyed when they came out on the GameCube, and so many
Yeah.
other stuff that's coming out now. It's like, oh, so much stuff, so too many video games. It's good. It's like a good problem to have, but
yes,
it's
yeah.
also
It's
a bad problem.
I looked at like the Steam store page today, and there was like, Eiyuden Chronicles, which is like the Suikoden successor,
yeah,
Sandland, the Toriyama vehicular combat game. There's
Oh,
like a
that's a
level
good one.
five. There's like a
I
level 5 mecha action RPG called Megaton Musashi. These are all after coming out in like the space of a little bit, and these are like all games that I would play for a month. One of them,
right.
and that's like on top of like, oh, I haven't played that Persona 3 remake. Unicorn Overlord looks pretty cool. It's it's an insane problem to have. It's like the burden by choice.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
Unicorn Overlord is good. I recommend that. Sandland is great. I mean, I'm surprised that they're not doing more, that they didn't do more coverage on that game, especially considering like the news behind
Yeah.
like the mangakas like passing. But
Yeah, I read like some reviews for it on Steam, right? And normally like Steam reviews are, I mean, you know how they can be, but almost all of them are like, this is for Toriyama. Like people are buying that game out of love for him, which I think is a really beautiful thing. But it's like, as you said, I just don't know why I'm not hearing more about it. I feel like it should and could be a big deal, you know? Last thing he's worked on.
I feel like it probably if this first review I looked up is any indication, it falls squarely in the 6 to 7 zone, which I think is also a very sweet zone. Like that's like my happy zone for game reviews is like that middle of the road, because it means it's off putting enough in some ways that it's got something going on, often.
Exa- Exactly. It makes me think of that Mad Max game that came out a few years ago,
Yes.
purely just based off of vehicular desert combat. And that's like a pure 7 out of 10, but it's one of my favorite 7 out of 10s I've played forever because driving in a desert in a cool car is like a fun thing, you know? It's a great thing. And I feel like doing this in like Toriyama vehicles just makes sense.
Yeah, I was at a meetup in Vermont, and Izzy from the group Sunday Month gave a talk about uh, the an endless love for the driving in that Mad Max game.
Yeah, like some games, right? It has multiple problems with its combat. It's open world. It's
Yeah,
got, a lot of repetitive missions and stuff. But, if the core idea of the game, which is just you're driving in a cool car in the desert, lots of sandstorms, guys are trying to ram into you, that entire loop, I could just do that forever. Just
yeah,
spinning donuts in the desert. They got that one bit so right that I can almost forgive the minor issues that comes with it. You'd still call it a 7 out of 10 because you got to be fair and you got to be objective. But in your heart, you're like, this is the game for me.
yeah. It's that weird. There's the review scale, of not everything. You're reviewing for like what you think. What do you think a game is versus like what a game is to you?
I feel like my head has a score for games, and then my heart has a separate score.
Yes.
And the heart's the one that really matters. It's the one that defines like the games that you love and how you think about video games and how you treat video games. And it's almost always the 7 out of 10s that really like they make you feel something.
Yeah, I have so many things that I just not just games, but like movies and albums that I love. But also they're like not easily recommendable at the same time.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. I feel like if you can learn to appreciate those unique quirks in something, be it music, be it films, you find like there's that thing that only you really get out of something.
Yeah.
Obviously, other people get it too, but it's it kind of helps the like what you enjoy also kind of defines you and your personality as well.
Yeah,
So it's
I may have played through Dragon's Dogma 2 or 3 times, you know, and that is a chef's kiss 7 out of 10 video game.
It's a 10 out of 10 video game.
Listen, in my heart, Dragon's
That's
Dogma is a perfect video.
no, 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 no. Objectively, coming from the guy
Yeah.
who doesn't give review scores, it's a
It-
10 out of
is it
10.
you can
It's
see
jump.
that's how you know it's like it's a real 10 out of 10 because people feel passionately
Yeah.
about it. And I've seen so much passion for Dragon's Dogma. I picked that game up once and then like bounced off it because I was
Yeah.
like, right, I feel like I'm gonna have to invest something into this to like get it and understand it. And I really want to go back and do it because I had like a similar thing with the Dark Souls games where I was like, I don't really get this. And then I got it once and I went, okay. It was like a spiritual awakening almost. And I feel like Dragon's Dogma is the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
Once you get it, you get it.
Truly vindicated when the second one was coming around, and everyone was like, "Oh, suddenly you all like Dragon's Dogma, huh? Nice how that you've all come around to the light. You've seen the light of God finally."
Yeah, that
Yeah.
first game, Dragon's Dogma 1, was just so ahead of the curve. That game still, I think, there's so many interesting like design decisions still that there's so much that AAA developers can just like pull from for
Yeah.
future releases. That game is just brilliant. That's
It was
really when that game came out was when Capcom really came like into like their own, and they've been on a winning streak since essentially.
They really did. They had like a rough period at like towards the tail end of the 7th gen leading into the new gen I found. But like Dragon's Dogma was like a shining light. The director of that game, that was like his dream game. Like he'd been thinking about making that game for years. But he had so much success working with like that the guy who directed that is the same person behind like Power Stone and like Rival Schools, a lot of like really cool beloved Capcom games. And then he took over Devil May Cry and kind of brought that series back into a great place. I feel like they just were like, look, you've earned your time here. Make the game you want to make. And it's an example of a game being like it's such an unsafe game.
Yeah.
It's so weird. But if you trust in what you're making and you know what you're making, you get a game like Dragon's Dogma.
Right, because
And
it's kind of like Dark Souls and it's kind of like Monster Hunter, but not quite either of those at the same time.
it's got like really cool combat, but like really crazy old school role playing game elements added in, you know?
And you can
I
dress
think that
up,
was the idea of it,
and you can dress up like Guts and Griffith
which is always a huge plus.
very explicitly. A planner on Alpha. I always also love to really like go back and like look at people's like long
I'm,
term
I-
game
I'm
developers.
doing a video at the moment. I'm planning a video looking at all the Capcom games that came on the PlayStation. So I've been
Oh wow.
deep into the Capcom lore, and like that dude, the director, he's like basically one of the highest ranked guys in Capcom at the moment, and rightly so, because I mean you could look at his body of work. But he basically applied for like a job at Capcom. He was a fighting game fan, and he was annoyed. He thought SNK's games were being more hardcore than what Capcom were doing.
Yeah.
So we came in with like a bunch of other fighting game fans for Alpha, and that was their whole plan. We want to make a competitor to SNK's cool new fighting game stuff. So they wanted to make a more hardcore Street Fighter. And since then, he's just been making cool stuff, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
He's a gamer at heart. That's what he refers to himself as. He's a gamer first.
And
And I think you can tell that when they make their games sometimes.
So
then
he's
he-
like
he
he's
directed
just like
CBS too.
Iwata.
He's just like us. He's just like us, guys.
He's truly like, my God.
He got drafted in to take over Devil May Cry 2 and then felt so bad about how Devil May Cry 2 turned out. That's why Devil May Cry 3 is the way it is. Because he's like, all right, we're going back to what the fans want. He's like
Right.
if he messes up at a game, he gets it and tries to fix it. It's real weird.
Yeah, and Devil May Cry 3 arguably is probably the best action game on the PlayStation 2, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, like he took the failure of 2 to heart. Almost like, okay, we'll show you what we can do. Here's the best, one of the coolest games you ever played.
Yeah, what a I I get often very fascinated by this because part of it, because so much of like history is that real side, or that kind of like uh quiet acknowledgement that it's all through emulation, so how much of it is like, oh, we know all these games through emulation in a lot of ways, because
Yeah.
I'm not paying $200 for a copy of Echo Knights.
Yeah. You're not going to pay like $200 to play like Project Justice on the Dreamcast, even though it's a cool game.
No, although I believe I own Rival Schools. I think. Yeah, I have
It's
Rival. I've got a copy of Rival
it
Schools sitting around.
super cool game.
Yeah,
He's said once before he would like to bring back Rival Schools at one point,
and
and I hope he has enough sway to do that
they
eventually.
the characters sneak in in other games every now and then. Like there was some in CVS2. There's some in like those like.
They had Akira in Street Fighter Five, I believe.
Yes.
The girl with the cool skull helmet.
Yeah.
What amazing character design.
Yeah, and they all kind
Yeah.
of like creep in here and there, but never fully.
No,
Yeah,
but
it's
that's
just hard.
what I was just gonna say, that when it comes to Capcom, I think they have the best character designers like in the business, just period. And they have I wish that they leaned into that a little bit more with Dragon's Dogma 2, where you just have like, it's good to be able to make your own character, but just also just have like an option where they just auto generate like a character for you. I
Yeah.
mean, come on, who doesn't want? I think Tim Rogers said this recently when he's like, who doesn't want like a character made by the people who are behind like Street Fighter,
Right. Like
Yeah.
they feel like a company that is like character, like fighting game character design is like in their DNA across whatever sorts of games they make.
Yeah. And it's such a wide variety of them too. Like if you look at like the difference between Street Fighter and then say their next game, Darkstalkers, which is just like a riff on kind of the universal monsters.
Yeah.
Every single character in that game is maybe one of the best character designs in a fighting game that I've ever seen. And I think they just popped that out in about like a week. They're like, yeah, we got our characters, here they are.
Yeah.
And it's just like amazing. The coolest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
insane. We need a new Darkstalkers.
And
Capcom.
Of
I know you're
all the
listening.
Capcom fighting game franchises, now that I've gone back and played them all, I think Darkstalkers is the clear, has the most to give. A horror fighting game in this day and age
right.
with a AAA budget, it's revolutionary.
And I hard I think, and even like what's it called? I think like those like Breath of Fire games are probably some of like the single best looking games like on the PlayStation.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
man.
three and four, like Capcom sprite work is so good, but to see
Yeah.
that throughout like a 50+ hour experience
Right.
and like such a huge variety in it as well, it's they're really good JRPGs, really good like classic, like tough games, really story driven,
Yeah.
back to basic stuff, but like so good.
Right. And just like to see like fighting game like animation philosophy carried over to like a JRPG. You're like, "Oh, wait a minute. Like I understand who in that philosophy, if I understand who these characters are by the way they animate."
Yeah, completely. And three has like a whole system where you combine dragon DNA to make like
Yeah.
over 50 different dragons or something, which is just
Super
like,
Yeah. So
super dense.
insane.
yeah, it's like, oh, here's
So
one of the many characters you have, and he has this crazy side thing. Oh, it's so good.
And
yeah, they need to get it. You know what? Capcom just needs to do a. I know you're listening, Capcom.
Yes.
So just
I've,
do a
I've,
collection of Breath of Fire. Give us all five. Not that. Hell, give us all six. Even give us that mobile game that came out. All six in one collection, please.
yeah,
yeah, like,
right. Dragon Quarter itself is this whole like
Oh,
wild
that's
experimental game.
oh, super, like, I think Dragon Quarter is a really cool game. Gets a bit of a hard time from
Yeah.
some people but like super experimental, really interesting, kind of one of a kind role playing game. It's just one of those cases where it's like, people want a pure Breath of Fire 5, and they get like crazy dungeon crawler
Right.
kind of
Experimental dungeon
experience.
crawler, kind of roguelike, kind of not, kind of.
Yeah, and then no game ever comes out again. That's kind of
Yeah.
the people experience. Well, except there is a Breath of Fire 6, but it was like a gacha game that's closed. So
Yeah, it
it's
was a
it
gacha
it
Yeah.
game.
yeah, it's
But
yes.
that's but yeah, Dragon Quarter, that game is you're talking about ahead of its time. Just completely caught so many people off guard. That's a game that with a re-release, I think will be heralded as one of the greatest games ever made.
Yeah, and I think that's like why we need more like constant, just like low stakes re-releases of games, because like I say like, oh, emulation is super easy, but I'm realizing that I'm within that like generational sweet spot where I know how to use a computer.
Yeah, like that. People always seem to explain like, well, emulation's not that easy. I'm like, I know. I feel like it is pretty easy to do. At
Yeah,
least that. But then I hear like people aren't really even used to using computers in some cases. I'm like,
yeah,
well,
you're right. It's just
I
like
guess I shouldn't assume.
right. I always like I grew up thinking, okay, everyone after me knows how to use a computer, but it turns out
No,
everyone 10 years younger and older than me doesn't know how to use a computer.
they do
Yeah.
everything on their phones.
Right.
Yeah, I had that realization about a year ago. Yes, I'm a member of the New York Video Games Critic circle here, and part of it's a lot of like mentoring, like up and coming, people in the games industry. And
Mm.
I realized like, wait, you do everything like on your phone. Like you don't, it's like, oh, that game's not available. Oh yeah, you just like try to get, download this and get this. It's like, oh, I don't know how to do that. And it's not only like I don't know how to do that, like, oh, I've never like done that before. It's like, no, it's like the hurdle of actually trying to learn that, like
Right. Right.
downloading the files, like, you have like a zip file you have to like extract. That's like I've never heard of that in my entire life. Like,
Yeah.
what
No,
are you
I've
talking about?
I've had
Somebody's like immediately paying for WinRAR. It's like I paid for this software that opens it for me. I'm like, no, that's the one thing you're not meant to do.
Well, they
I
don't anymore because they clicked on Google. They typed on Google and they got like a ad thing, and they clicked on that other computer. Now it's like being owned by like the Swedish government, who's like tracking them and stuff.
Yeah,
I
I just wanted to download a Super Mario ROM hack, and now Sweden owns my computer.
Yep,
Classic
your
mistake.
computer got hacked. Mario, the classic Mario conundrum. You try to play Mario, but Mario plays you.
he's always getting like I've had to explain like just for Indiepocalypse, it was like, oh, you just need to use WinRAR because or not, you need to use 7-zip because like file names are too long or something in some
Yep,
cases.
7-zip. It's the best, the best. That's a pro tip there for all the young people who are trying to get into this emulation game.
7-zip.
Also, another pro tip: never trust Mario because Mario's a class traitor. You can
Yes.
watch the video on Transparency on YouTube. They did a whole thing talking about it, how Mario let the working class down.
Shout out to Transparency. Great channel.
But um yeah, it's a whole like it's a weird, it's a very odd thing. I have this button Kaitos rather uh
We
thing
need
open.
we need speaking of that, we need more role-playing games, but like just entire card-based battle systems, or more role-playing games that are like trading card games as well, like full
Right. Oh,
full
Oh, I
Yu-Gi-Oh-ish.
agree.
I played
I agree.
I went through a FromSoft kind of personal
Lost
retrospective.
Kingdoms.
Yes, I played both Lost Kingdom game and I love those Lost
So
Kingdom.
good.
I love
Like
those games so much. Yeah.
insane Kota Hoshino soundtracks in
Oh
both of
my
them.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
yes,
Soundtrack.
Absolutely.
I've played plenty of Evergrace songs on this show because it's out of control.
You want to talk about like a 7 out of 10 that makes you feel something.
Yeah.
Most of FromSoft's output prior to Dark Souls and
Right,
Demon
right.
Souls.
And arguably Dark Souls and Demon Souls are 7 out of 10s that got popular.
I'm still amazed that like that became like of all the things that I could have bet to become commercially like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Not those games, not the Kingsfield successor.
Right, right. And that's
Good,
like
good for them though.
yeah, and that's the weird thing because people should be able to very easily be like, okay, I want to play all these Kingsfield games. I want to play Shadow Tower,
Yeah, I want to play Echo Knight. I want to play all 50 armored cores.
Yes, yeah. I wanna. And there's not just like a thing you can go. You know, you don't have like the even like your Game Pass stuff does not just have like, oh, here's the From Software collection.
No, they don't
Yeah.
have that, and that's a shame. And that's a real shame. Like, just going back to Lost Kingdoms, I replayed two actually this year,
Yeah,
and
Mm.
it's yeah, that soundtrack is amazing. But then also the design of those games when it comes to like some of the monster designs and some of like the lore, you already see some of that real like there's some of that stuff that made something like Dark Souls just so so endearing to like a lot of fans. You see that in those early From Software games,
yeah,
and I think people should definitely give those a try and try to revisit them. I mean, it's hard to, but if one can, yeah, definitely check out Lost Kingdoms 1 and 2.
Yeah.
yeah,
If you can get over like just old controls and a few old design decisions, you're gonna like find the most creative and weird games on old consoles, you know?
yeah. You just have to, and it's like games are that weird thing where there's like the mechanic, like the idea of like a mechanical difficulty that you run into, where plenty of things are, plenty of other art is challenging in different
Yeah,
ways. But like a weird, challenging film will play from start to finish, whether you get it. Uh,
exactly. Whereas a kid has to like first grasp the N64 controller to be able to
yes.
get into to be able to play I'm trying to think of an amazing N64 game that hasn't been ported. Mickey Speed Race USA.
Right.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, what is it, Mystic Quest? What is that? 64?
Quest
The first
64.
RPG?
Quest
Quest
64.
64. Incredible game.
I mean, all my love in the world to Brian, the greatest JRPG hero of them all.
I know he can make water spout and drop rocks on people. Like that's
That's all you
He is
need. He's
he
already
is the
half the
Jesus
avatar.
of the modern era.
I've thought
Yeah.
about Quest 64. I feel like Quest 64 is getting a cult resurgence. I'm fascinated by like cult resurgences and things.
That Quest
Wait till it comes
64
out on
account
Switch Online.
on the Quest 64 account on Twitter is
Yeah.
single-handedly bringing back Quest 64. And I feel like Wild Woody's getting the same treatment. Like if you meme something enough, people start to change their perception on it, you know?
Yeah. Right. You just like
People have been calling it bad forever, but like we're like, hold up, what if it's good? And you go,
yeah.
well, yeah, what if it is good?
Wait,
Or
there's a Quest 64 Twitter
yeah.
account? Sorry, I'm off Twitter. I got off last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
So
Don't go back. It's bad. I'm only there out of an obligation to the few nice people that do follow me on there.
Yes.
But
It's
uh,
the
there's a Quest 64 account that's taken over, changing the culture.
oh wow.
So that's why, and I think while I've heard a lot about Wild Woody recently, heard nothing for about 10 to 15 years, and now this is like multiple times this year I've heard Wild Woody. So I got very excited about the second coming of Wild Woody.
oh I should
I
I
mean,
should
it's the hero we deserve. It's the hero we deserve.
True.
I need to bring back. How can I bring? See, that's why if I get $1 million, if I just get tons of money, what I would do is just like bring back Wild Woody. Just like
This is what we want to hear. You
I
have my money as well. Let me know and we'll like
this. That's
do a
that's all I
joint
want to
investment.
do is like, I want to just like make affordable version. Like, I'll secretly just make the Ouya 2, basically. Honestly,
Yeah. You're like it's back, and now you'll like it
it was on.
because it's
Listen, the idea of a box that can just play games is like a cheap game playing box is a thing that we needed, and a cheap game playing box that just has some retro arc Mister like inside of it.
yeah. I think that will be like an inevitable thing. I think as Mister grows and gets better, there'll just be like a really kind of simple, straightforward, easy to use like consumer level one. Because I think like a
Yeah,
Mister looks really cool, but it's
yeah,
like that little bit too complicated for me to really like. Yeah, I'll wait
right,
until it becomes like for me like for a stupid person like me.
right. It's something you have to like build. Right. It's still something you have to kind of like build.
Yeah, like that's a pretty fun project, but I also like just like hitting the button. I'm like, there's my game.
Well,
Right,
you
right.
can get pre-made ones. You can get them, You can get a Mister where it's pre-made and already has like all the cores like downloaded on it and stuff. But you still have to do like adjustment settings and stuff to make it work. But it's
Yeah.
definitely worth it, especially with all the stuff we're getting when it comes to just like games being delisted and all this
Oh,
stuff. It's yeah.
absolutely, and especially if you care about accuracy, which like is a big thing for a lot of people. You know, it kind of gives like there's always like, oh, what's the best way to play X, Y, and Z? It's like, well, nothing better than the real deal, the
Yeah.
real fake deal.
A real fake deal. Yeah.
Because I think something like that having like, and there are like a lot of like those different like FPGA like, remake console kind of things. And
Like all the analog stuff.
and yeah, I think those just like, and we just need like, how much is a fucking is a DVD player? You know, it's probably what like $60.
Probably cheaper if
Yeah.
you
Probably,
get one.
I'd
I
say
mean, if
like
you
a,
get a PlayStation 2, you can get one for like $20 probably.
and that's a good DVD player too.
Yeah. Yeah, I can, a 4K I can get for like $80.
Yeah.
Or, and that's 4K. Like if you don't need 4K,
Yeah.
they're even
4K is a scam.
yeah, you can probably just go to like a Goodwill and get it for like $20.
Oh yeah, for sure, and probably about like 100 DVDs as well.
Right, right. So and then that's I think arguably what games need as like a medium to thrive really is that affordable consumer box. And like cuz those analog things are still pretty pricey.
They're hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I got like one of the Super Nintendo ones, and even like importing from America as well. There's like crazy. You have to wait about a year. There's like about $100 in tax added onto it. Like
Right.
it's nice, but like I felt the pain of getting it. You know.
Yeah,
I
they're
think what they really need to do is they just need to bring back the PlayStation 2 again. Like here it is. It's back. It's $80. Games are $20. It's the
it's
PlayStation 2.
it's got tons of games.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're pretty cheap.
Yeah,
Right, right.
PlayStation 2 Mini with like 1,000 games, and then you can just go online and then you can like download some games on it for like a really like small price. Yeah, Sony that would keep Sony over water for a millennia.
Because that console has like I know it's not infinite games, but it feels like it has infinite games.
Right.
There's at least maybe 4 to 5 thousand unique titles on that little box.
Yeah, and depending on the region, there's just so much stuff you didn't get to play because either stuff came out only like in Japan or only in in North America or Europe. So you definitely have like a lot of options. And production, that was like the sweet spot too, where like production cost was cheap enough that a lot of developers were still taking chances, not making like really interesting stuff. That
Yeah,
it's that you're only really seeing in like the indie space now, like in the
yeah,
modern.
absolutely. You'll see a lot of games from like the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2 era, which are like noted for having just ridiculous amounts of games, thanks to how cheap it was to put a game out. You could just get a group of people together, like 10, 20 people, start a studio, make a game, sell about 30, 40,000 copies, and that's enough to let you make another game.
That's what we
That was
need
okay.
now.
Yeah, that was the sweet times. And that'd be cool. Like imagine having like being able to like make games as easy as you are now and then like be able to fund to put it on a console. And here it is. It's a big release. It's a
Yeah.
big deal.
And you two could make different. You could have your own samurai western, or I just have this thing open. I bought this as a joke on because someone was like, "Oh, all Atlas games are good." And I was like, "Well, what about samurai
Well,
western?"
did you buy the game Samurai Western? I heard that's really good.
I haven't really played it, but I bought it as a joke for like $9, and now it's like 150.
Yeah, I've seen it. There's like a place we have over here called CEX or Sex as they sometimes call it,
Yeah,
which is like a old you go in and buy PS2 games for like 50 pence or something. And they
cool.
had like a copy of Samurai Western in the back there for like £100, which is like an insane price for a PS2 game.
Yeah,
So I like that either means usually what that means is that the game itself probably isn't very rare. It's just very highly regarded like like an Earthbound. There's a lot of copies of Earthbound, but it's
Right.
like it's on a pedestal. It's just expensive, no matter
Yeah.
what.
It's been a while to see I use like price charting, and I added all my
Yeah,
games,
you want to make sure you're not like overpaying for something if you can help it.
and I added my whole collection there at some point, and just like they've skyrocketed, and it's out of control. Like all these games that I paid, but if I'm looking at my little value, luckily my value has been decreasing over the years.
Which is probably like bad for you, but good for the
Yeah.
industry of people who like
Oh,
just buying like
that
the games to have fun.
that's me. That's me. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm
No,
not
that's good. That's the right way to look about
I'm
it.
not reselling my copy of Chibi Robo anytime soon.
No, don't do that. That's the greatest 7 out of 10 GameCube game.
I'm
Oh
not.
yeah, Chibi Robo and or Custom Robo. If it has Robo in the title on the GameCube, it's probably pretty good.
Now,
Back.
custom, that's an 11 out of 10.
Oh no, we're going top tier for that.
I like I have like, and I was like, look, it's very expensive. As a short guess, as a testament of the gaming market, I'm throwing a short game. What game do you think is the most expensive game I have on my list?
What game is the most expensive you have on your list?
Yeah, I'll say
Hmm.
up front. I mentioned earlier, but I do. It is not Earthbound. Earthbound is number 2.
Earthbound is number 2. Do you
It's expensive.
have do you have a hint on what the game might be? And I'll see if I can guess it
It is
based
a
off of the
PlayStation
hint.
era game.
Oh, is it Symphony of the Night?
It is not Symphony of the Night.
All right,
Ooh,
let
is
me
it?
try. Let me do my shot
Symphony of the
here.
Night is at $135. It's below. I paid more money for. I would get more money for my copy of Arc the Lag Collection, but not as much for my
Oh,
copy of Mega Man Legends 2.
I think
those
it's
Mega Man.
one of the Lunar games.
It is not. It is not Lunar. I have Lunar 2 Eternal Blue complete in full in box and everything. That's only a hot 150.
Oh,
You got. I'm trying to think
But
of the
Lunar
top of
2
my
is
mind
closer.
because the prices also vary depending on region. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of what's like an expensive US game,
Yeah.
like an Elemental Gearbolt or
I don't have an
what
Elemental
else could it
Gearbolt.
be?
yeah, I have
The,
no idea what games cost on
the
the second
Elemental
day. I'm
Gearbolt,
just gonna say
Elemental
this right
Gearbolt with
now.
the golden gun.
Oh my God! If only.
Echo, is it
Is
one
it?
of the Echo Knight games?
It is. I don't have any Echo Knight at all. That's my dream.
Do you
But
have like that? Is it that Parappa the Rapper alarm clock
what?
peripheral?
Oh man, I would love that. I would love to wake up every morning to you rapping cool.
I don't even know what that is.
You could check it out. I think it's like 5. I know this because when we did our our game awards this year, some of the somebody that won over at Naughty Dog, they had a in the background of the video they sent us, they had that thing on there. And I'm like, what the hell was that? I need that. And then I went online to try to see how much it costs, and I'm like, nope.
Yeah, it looks like it's like $150.
It looks
So,
beautiful though.
But
oh for sure.
but no, to not have this game go on forever, the answer is Persona 2 Eternal Punishment.
Oh,
How much is that?
that's like
That
a real obvious pick as well. I'm sad I
uh,
missed that.
price charting averages it at 377 and
What
56
the
cents.
hell's wrong with people?
That's crazy. Even the PSP remake of that game is very expensive.
Yeah,
And PSP games are notoriously not expensive.
and I bought this. I would say, 20 years ago for like $30.
Wow.
That's insane.
That
According to my list of things that I have, the most expensive PlayStation game I own is Mega Man Battle and Chase, which is a Mega Man kart racer. That's apparently worth 138 euro. So I'm not that rich in PlayStation games, despite
no.
my affinity for them. Apparently.
The secret is to just have obscure tastes as a teen and buy a lot of weird
Oh yeah,
JRPGs.
That's
Yeah, I
why
don't.
I've got Panzer Dragoon Saga, which is
Yes.
obviously the most
Oh,
expensive one, but I've also got a box copy of Terranigma, which is like a prized possession.
oh yeah,
I love
that's
that.
expensive. That's a great
Apparently,
game.
Apparently, my copy of Radiant Historia on the 3DS is worth €211.
My God.
Yeah,
That's
well,
crazy.
I
That's
I have
crazy.
the North American version. I don't know how much it costs. I have all the Dragon Quests for the DS, and I know
Yeah.
those are upwards to like 100, but
The
those are priceless.
3DS is the 3DS is like a weird one because it's like region locked. So the games become more valuable just because you want to buy from your region. It's not like I can just pick up an American or even like
Right.
a Japanese. Not that I'll be picking up a Japanese copy of a JRPG, but
Right.
yeah, like weird European limited releases are like just crazy expensive now.
Yeah, like as I've been going through playing a lot of Tales games. That's like where my headspace is in right now. And
The
I
place
can
to be. Which one are you currently playing?
Tales of Eternia, Destiny 2 in the US.
Oh,
And
the one with voice acting.
yes, I'm actually playing the PAL version on the PSP because it's
Oh
apparently
wow.
the best version.
Oh yeah, and at least it's not like PSP doesn't have like the weird region 50 hertz, 60 hertz. It's just
Yeah,
a
No,
good version of it.
but
it's
which
a
is of
great
course
console for JRPG.
Oh, so good.
it's of course 3 games into the series. uh,
Yeah.
but they're long, but I like them. They're like my comfort food or whatever.
I like how much dialogue. If you're like a big fan of dialogue and chit
Yes.
chat between
Oh,
people, like I like I find those games really charming. I like the characters a lot because it gives you a
yes.
lot of time to get to know them.
Yeah,
Like they're
I dropped out of that series after I think Vesperia. I played that during the pandemic, and I was like, this is not for me anymore.
yes. It's a. I wonder where my endpoint will be. Where I'm like, I've had enough.
It's weird. I also dropped out after Vesperia, but then I came back for Berthia, I think it was, and I was like, "This is pretty cool." That's like the darker one.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah, that one got
they're all a little bit dark, but that one's extra dark.
yeah. Like I was surprised. Like the first one has spoilers, folks. We have spoilers here, but like like the antagonist is someone who's like saving their own doomed world, sort of, but they're your antagonist. It's a very like, oh right, they were doing all these plot lines back on the Super Nintendo. These are not. It's a good reminder of uh, everything's already been done, and games have
Yeah,
always been telling interesting stories. The tale
yeah,
stories themselves are like fine, I think probably,
well,
yeah,
but I like the
the appeal
banter.
of those is like that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. The appeal is the banter between like the characters and everything, because yeah, eventually how much anime nonsense
Yeah.
and Deus Ex Machinas can you handle like in like a plot before you go insane, right?
I have a high tolerance for them, but
Good,
yeah,
good.
you need it for Tails.
I have a high tolerance for else, but it's like I have a balanced diet, so like yes I goofed around and I played Tales of whatever, Tales of Eternia, Tales of Destiny, and then I watched Bright Summer Day, uh,
Mm,
you know
that's a great film. Yeah, so you get grounded. You're like
yeah
you go from like the most like batshit insane like narrative anyone's ever like put to page to just like plain simple to the point,
yeah
just exuberant, just like summation of like what makes life great.
yeah
That's
I joke about I love for anime bullshit or whatever, and in like bombastic Japanese role playing games, but also I think obsessively about Jean Dielman.
I have a question for both of you.
Yes.
What's
Yes.
the most bonkers bullshit story in a game that you still enjoy? That like while you're being like present in the moment, like seeing the story play out, you're like, this is the stupidest shit ever. But then you're completely just grinning from one side of your mouth to the other the whole time.
I feel like for me, that's usually I think that's kind of like a platinum forte. Like if you play something like Bayonetta and then play Vanquish, I think they're like that kind of style of story where it's just like this is the most insane thing ever, but they're completely like they play it off really straight.
Yeah.
You know, like the most insane thing you've ever seen is like really normal. I get the same vibe, but like a Devil May Cry as well. Like you know when something is like it knows it's cool, and there's a risk where you can kind of be like, if you think you're cool but you're not cool, you're very not cool. But if you think you're cool and you are in fact cool, it's the coolest thing ever. So I like a game that's not afraid to just like be a video game. The more over the top, the better. Actually, scratch that. Asura's Wrath is probably probably that game for me.
Right. That right. I am that is me and my pals over at RGG. Uh,
Oh yeah.
that I they are just like it is extreme crime melodrama, like to the nth degree. But I'm like, yes, no, I am fully swept up in these endless betrayals and third act twists or whatever of there's a giant battleship coming out of the bay. Fine. I guess there is. Sure.
Yeah. I love seeing like this incredible like really good stories, great performances from the people behind the characters, and then you got like you're going bowling and there's a chicken as your manager.
Yeah. No, it's I'm a Shenmue pervert. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's something that I you don't expect to see it, but as soon as you see it, it just feels right.
Yeah, it's and those to talk about games that like how long it was what like 5 or 6. I mean, it wasn't really till even like a drag. No, it was zero. Zero is really when it crossed over in the U.S. I think,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zero was the big breakout game.
which is like the seventh game or whatever.
Oh yeah, like by then they'd already had a zombie spin-off.
Which is absurd, too expensive. Honestly, too expensive. I wanted to buy it,
Yeah, if
but
you got Dead Souls, hang on to that.
it's like $100 something. I'm not paying $100 for a shitty game. For
I'll only play $100 for an Earth Defense Force title,
of
and
course,
no Earth Defense Force title is $100.
true
Thankfully,
quality of video games. Earth Defense
how,
Force.
how many ants can I kill in the shortest amount of time? And the bigger the ant, the better.
What is a game that is not European but feels it? Earth Defense Force. If you told me Psygnosis made Earth Defense Force, I would nod and agree with you.
If
I
that
was
was
gonna
like,
say
yeah,
Wild Woody. Wild Woody feels European.
Wall Woody, in a weird way, Wall Woody feels like, because I always think of it as like a super American game in a way. Because who made it? Was that the Sega Technical Institute that made that game? And that's like Sega's like American offshoot. They made like Comic Zone and stuff.
Sega
So I always
Multimedia
envisioned that
Studio.
multimedia studio. I always envisioned that as like because it's a North American exclusive as well. Like I've never been blessed to be in the presence of Walt Woody. He's like a mythical creature to me. You
But it
know,
just has the jank of those like Spectrum games though. Like
Yeah.
it's got
it's
the
just like
jank of a chubby gristle of a dizzy.
yeah, I was like, what the hell is this crap? Like while you're playing it, it's just like feels wrong. You know, when you just like touch a controller and you're doing the inputs and what you're seeing on screen just isn't registering the way you thought it was going to from your previous experiences, right?
You're
That's Wild Woody. And that's part of the fun. I think Bennett Foddy probably got a lot of his inspiration for his games from Wild Woody. I haven't double checked with him. I'm
Yeah.
not going to. I'm just gonna say it flat out. I think, we got all those. We got Getting Over because of Wild Woody. So that's how influential Wild Woody is.
Yeah, it is. It
um,
is. Does it have maze style design or like that kind of like you know what I mean?
oh classic. You have to find X amount of items in a big giant level where
Yes,
some of the items look like you need to collect them, but they in fact kill you.
your cool
That's your
spot
in-game design.
and
Cool spot. Zool.
yes,
Zool's a good one.
of just like what's the best way to make a level? Just make one really big level.
How about instead of going to the right, you also go to the left
And
and then
up.
do it again and again. Yeah, and up. There's a lot of up, a lot of verticality.
Yeah, that is
You basically you gotta feel lost all the time,
that is my
lost
like
and in danger.
my like my tent pole for like what I think of as like European platform design is just giant levels.
I think it's just James Pond, just a fish that can extend vertically.
Mm. Yeah, I was thinking giant levels too. Just collect it on hell, like in a rare, one of those like rare platformers. Like Banjo-Kazooie and some of those ultra overrated games that should never have been made, but people love.
Do you not like a conker? Do you not like a conker? Don't like a squirrel? The
I
squirrel
do like
collecting.
I do like Conquer though, because it's so irrelevant. It's such a just such a horrible like designed creature, horrible jokes, just like the lowest common denominator stuff. It's like if John Waters made a
Oh yeah,
video game.
it's pure trash, but like artistic trash.
Yeah, I mean you have a
An
poo singing about.
opera singing poop.
Yeah,
The a Matrix parody before there were Matrix parodies.
yeah, I mean just think about how we talk about the opera scene in Final Fantasy VI. I mean, come on, like we know what the greatest opera scene is. It's the poo singing in Conquer. Like
We,
that is true. That's one of the great marriages of two different art forms, opera and video games. I mean, it really hasn't been surpassed. Like, and I think people should just stop. And I think every video game should just be Conquer. Just like keep remaking Conquer. Like Square Enix remake Conquer. Capcom should remake Conquer, Nintendo should remake Conquer. Just keep doing that until that's only it, and then the industry collapses and we can finally go outside.
Yeah, that'd be pretty great. And then you can play Conker's Pocket Tales on the Game Boy Color,
yes, I gave
which is a 2D collectathon,
and
a pure European banger.
and you can see Conker in Diddy Kong Racing and be like, oh right, I forgot he was originally going to be a different guy.
Wait,
Yeah,
No,
oh
this
wow,
is
wait,
that was the
my mind was
first.
just blown. I didn't know that was Conquer until
That
right
was the
now you said
first.
that.
I think that was the first appearance of Conker
yeah.
Holy
in
sh!
anything.
And he's like, I'm Conker. How you doing? How you doing, guys?
Yep,
But
little happy Conker
not yet,
before the troubles happened with the alcohol and
yes.
I
the
think it
war.
started. He probably got. I forgot about that.
Oh, it's
What
crazy.
is?
I think that's the main reason why there's just not like they just don't put Diddy Kong Racing out on things because that's like an Xbox character. Technically, it's a weird thing.
You're right. You're
Just
right.
Conker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such this odd kind of. I
Now
don't.
Nintendo has that sorta pseudo like partnership with Microsoft going on, so maybe they can get that. I mean, there's some rare games now on Switch Online, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe they can do it. But they shouldn't put it on Switch Online. It should be like a full $60 release. Actually, $70, like Tears of the Kingdom. But it's the exact same
Prestige
game.
title.
Like no like upscale. Yeah, no like upscaling of
Yeah.
any sort. It's just like
It's
the
like
same game.
you guys demanded and we've delivered $70 for Diddy Kong Racing, and then just never take any questions.
Like
Like, no, you
run.
can't put it out. It's like, but you said you wanted it. That's how much it costs to pay the
Yep.
license fees for Conker.
Yeah.
$70
Yeah.
per game.
It's supposed to run on 60 frames per second, but in actuality, when you play it, it's like 15.
The more money you pay, the higher the frame rate. You can pay for the 60 frames per second, or you can
Stop,
pay for the
stop,
120.
Ah,
stop. We're gonna will that. We're gonna like usher that
I've
into
given
existence.
there's an executive somewhere who's rubbing their hands together right now. They're like, oh boy, wait till I tell the shareholders. They're gonna love this.
Capcom, don't listen to this. Sega, don't listen to this.
don't get any.
Please.
Yeah,
I'm not buying any experience packs. I'm certainly not buying for frame rates. We have
yeah.
important
I want no features,
uh,
please.
what's the word? Correspondences from the chat of $20 for Johnny Bazooka Tone, of course, a high quality.
Oh my god, that is a classic European, pure like really bad, but like has the best music you've ever heard kind of game.
And also like a nice also reference to Parasite Eve has a good opera, that's a good opera scene as well.
It
Oh
is.
yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's not better than
No, it's not.
Conquer.
It is
But
not as good.
it's better than Final Fantasy VI.
Did Parasite eat right? Like, there's no rhyming of scat with twat
No,
in
none at all.
Parasite Eve, which is something that Conker's Bad Fur Day has above most games.
Similar levels of dripping and melting in both scenes.
A surprising amount, a surprising similarity in like melting and drippage. Like that, like the Great Mighty Pooh is flowing at all times, which
Yes,
is rather disturbing.
Well,
but
it also just shows the vitality though of the poo, right? If that much like dripping, it's essentially sewage. It's both solid and sewage at the same time. I'm sorry to say this if anybody's listening, but it is the strongest diarrhea you've ever seen.
So strong that it becomes sentient and learns the skills of a Botticelli.
Oh, it's incredible. It's better than Botticelli. Get the hell out of here. You're talking, it's like if Maria Callas was like better. Like, I'm saying the greatest opera scene, you know what? Not only in video games, in the history of opera.
oh,
When
Like they're gonna,
aliens come here and like colonize and kill us all, and then somebody finds that when they're doing their massive like sweep of like everything humans have ever created, they're gonna see that and they're gonna shed one single tear. It's like the potential this species had,
I've
and look what we did to them.
I have occasionally thought about what art will persevere. Like you think about like how long like Shakespeare or whatever has lasted, um, and I think about
yeah.
what art in in my lived generation will survive thousands of years. Like
It will unfortunately be Kingdom Hearts.
right, it's
That
Don't
that
say
is
that.
they're gonna see Mickey standing there with a keyblade in his hand and go, that's the great tragedy
No,
right.
of
I
our time.
hopefully Dragon Quest in all seriousness, but
I
I wrote a horrible article for Unwinnable on my hatred for Kingdom Hearts 2. So I really hate that series.
it's
I have no strong feelings towards Kingdom Hearts, but I will say I hate that the opening of those games lasts about 2 hours longer than they need to. I don't want to get ice cream with my friends. I appreciate the importance of it in the
It's a
grand scheme of things.
obstacle. We have to
Pop-
be before the fan base comes at us.
Oh, it's
It's
okay.
pops.
I just say I'm foreign and it's okay.
yeah right
we don't
right.
have we don't have
Oh, you're
popsicles.
not
We have
exempt.
ice cream on a
You're not
stick.
exempt. This is Kingdom Hearts fan base. You don't want to mess with these people.
I think
It's okay.
yeah
I'm being doxxed as we speak.
right.
Oh, I was at a con once, and I was just talking to like a friend, and I'm like, I don't get Kingdom Hearts, and then I had somebody follow me.
A
I'm not
guy in a
kidding.
shadowy
30 And then he
organization
just comes
13
up
right
to me
behind
and
you.
he's like, and it's like, you're not a gamer. And then he walks away, and I was like,
I love the whispers. Like, what did he mean by that? What did he mean by that?
Organization 13. And I crap my pants, and that's how the poo was born.
Oh,
The Great Mighty Pooh.
perfect, perfect, a perfect capstone for my for my
Highbrow
you know
radio
what?
show.
I'll say maybe I'll try and bring it back as a segment. If you had to take any piece of art that would be preserved, become like an old standard, an old lang sign for the next generation, people still know it years from now. Do you have any choice? Because my personal thought when I first thought of this concept is I would love if 2,000 years from now, the classic Thin Lizzy ballad, "The Boys Are Back in Town," if that just became like a standard, that it was just like a song that people knew, I would be happy.
I feel like that has the potential to be one of those forever songs.
Yeah.
Because, at the end of the day, the boys, they're always going to be back in town eventually. Everybody can relate.
If I don't think we'll be in a situation where boys will not be coming back into town, where
Yeah,
Unless
as
they
long as
ban
there
towns.
as
Unless
long as
towns
there are
ban.
boys and towns, they'll be back.
What if we ban back though? Like you can't go back.
then,
So there are
Then
towns and there are boys.
the
But
boys are in town.
Yeah.
The
back.
boys are in town. Oh,
That is
maybe then
It's a good
we
story.
can update it for the modern
right.
sensibilities of the time.
Right. Songs kind of get twisted and warped over the decades, and things get lost and remembered and forgotten and slightly alternated. And nobody knows what Auld Lang Syne means anymore. Auld Lang Syne, but
It's true.
people no longer know what the boys are back in town means, but they do know
Oh
it.
yeah, like 5 years from now when towns are banned and people are like, what?
When we're
What's
living
a
in the mega
town?
city, we're all living
What
in
the
I
mega
fuck are they
cities.
talking
as a Tin Lizzy, like, I always try to think of them as like a band in Ireland circa like the 70s and 80s. And all that happened back then was just like you're in a pub and then you see your friends walk in and you go, oh, the boys are back. And that was it. I imagine that's the entire
Right.
concept of the song.
It's that carnal desire of being reunited with the boys.
It's a beautiful thing. And it's a song that really encapsulates the feeling of the
about?
boys being back in town.
It's too simplistic for our modern era though, because now it's like, come on, seeing somebody again, like it needs to be hyper specific and explicit, and that's what touches on stuff now. And it has to be pop culture referential. Like you have to drop name brands and
Oh, like,
stuff. That's the only thing how like we know how to like associate life is like with consumer products. You can't be like back in town. You have to be like, wait, what town?
The
What
boys are
car did
back.
they drive?
The boys are
why not
back in
even
town.
town?
The boys are back in town to buy to buy Guinness.
The boy, like, you could even like make it more specific. Like, my friend John is back with a Pepsi
Yes.
skibbity gat in my living room, and that's the chorus on repeat.
Listening to Taylor Swift, and you have to reference all that stuff, and then you cut to a sample of a Taylor Swift AI bot thing that you've done,
Perfect. And speaking
and then this.
speaking of
Mhm.
endless consumerism, we're cresting over 2 hours, which I like to call the end of the show. Because it has
We
to end
just got
eventually.
started.
It has to end eventually, and this is where I start to wrap up. So, Sean Louis, do you have any other like for this Pepsi hell future aside? Did you have any other burning thoughts or statements or questions that you wanted to get out?
I'm just gonna answer your question regarding I guess, a piece of art. Since this
Yes.
is a show on games, I would say probably Dragon Quest VII, the original PlayStation one, with all its long opening and the 3,000 hours it takes to complete. I think that's what should be preserved.
That's like one of the few. I think that might be the only that and the new one are the only ones I haven't actually finished. Um,
Nobody does.
I went
Nobody finishes that
I
game.
went on a very long spree of playing a lot of Dragon Quest games at some point, but I like the way. Okay, I'm gonna go on a tangent because you activated my Dragon
It's
Quest
hard,
Seven.
right? It's hard, right?
You activated my Dragon Quest Seven brain, which is I love the opening of that game. Um, like one of the first scenarios where you're fighting like there's that woman who's also the monster,
Beautiful.
and how you can just like run away from the battle.
That game has like I've been joking a lot throughout this. I don't know if you've noticed, but
Yes,
that
no,
game I think really has like extremely underrated story. You're talking about for something that's that long. I mean,
yeah,
some people might even code it like bloated. I think it's the most succinct and well put together narrative of that length ever done in video games.
yeah, it
Because
is.
it really is famous for being like the long JRPG. It's the long one.
Well,
And
that's the fan
but
service in that game, though. It's like it took so long between that one and six. It's like
yeah,
here you go.
but I never hear people like complain about like I hear people complain about the length in the sense that, oh, I don't have time to play a game that long. But I feel like anybody who makes it through the experience is like, it's rare to have something that is at that length that it needs to be, or it actually makes it worth your while, which is incredibly impressive.
Yeah,
No, it is. And once the glider comes, I don't know if you've seen this controller that you to handle with your feet, right? Which you should back if it's, I don't know if it's on Kickstarter anymore, but you can play that during dinner time as you eat with your feet. So you can do like 20, 30 minutes a night for whatever, a year,
Yeah.
and
Just
then you'll beat the game. Like if you're reading, Tolstoy's like War and Peace or whatever, complete works of Shakespeare, which, yes, Dragon Quest 7 is as great as Shakespeare. Mic drop.
But is it as great as the Great Mighty Pooh?
I mean, nothing is, but
yeah.
so
Cool.
it's okay.
Just wanted to clarify. That's okay.
We,
Just
we,
want to
we
make
can
sure.
all strive for paradise, but so few of us reach it.
True.
That poo-filled paradise smells delicious.
But that said, unless we have any other late-breaking important things to get out, we're gonna enter full wrap-up mode.
That sounds good to me. All I'll say is that I had a really nice time. Thank you for having me on.
Well, glad to have you on. And since I'm going clockwise, Sean, you're up first. Where can people find your work? Should they look to find it?
You can find me on YouTube and on the hellscape that is Twitter. I'm not calling it the other thing. I'm not giving them the pleasure. If you like PlayStation 1 games and related content, I'm not sure if I like the word content, video stuff.
Yes.
I try to play as many weird and cool and interesting things as I can find, which is really the beauty of it. For example, there's a Gamera rail shooter which plays exactly like Panzer Dragoon, and it's about a giant turtle, so that's pretty great. That's just one of the many games you can find there. So, yeah. And if you don't want to even check out my channel, just play some old video
Yeah.
games. Play something cool you never heard of, and it might change your life.
If,
So at least do that for me. Your old pal Shawnee.
if you're like me and you have a specific kind of brain worm where you're like, I'm sick of the 5 to 6 games that people say are good, you go into YouTube and you type every video game, every
Yeah.
RPG or whatever, you'll find your way there.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
Of just exhausted. Luis, where can people find your work? You've mentioned Unwinnable and other sites, but where can people
Yeah, you
find
can
your
find
writing if you're
Yeah,
not
you
going to
can
find it?
find me everywhere on the internet. I'm everywhere, literally. But the main place is Pop Matters, which is the place that I write
Yep.
or specifically. Yeah, I do freelance for some other places. I will be at Gains for Change here in New York, and I will also be um, I'll be doing several panels for the Long Island game retro game expo in August here also in New York, which I'll have a panel with Tim Rogers from Action Button and Jordan Miner, editor of PC Magazine. So something to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, like folks, go out to local shows if you can. Local shows are like some of the most exciting sort of like events you can go to. Get yourself off the internet.
Yeah. And if that Kingdom Hearts person, please show up so we see in person and we will have a Keyblade duel for the fate of the universe.
Replicate
I love
that
it.
parking lot fight. That's a thing everybody. That's a touchstone everyone has in their brain, right?
I would like if I seen a Keyblade fight in real life, I'd pop off so hard. I'd be like, it's happening.
Wait, do neither of you know what I'm talking about?
No
I think
idea.
I think I recall
It's like two
the
guys in
infamous
like a
parking
parking lot,
stall.
and there's snow. Um,
Yeah, all the best battles take place in a
I think
parking
they're
lot.
fighting with umbrellas.
I'm gonna look this up as
It's
soon as we're done
it's
here.
incredible. The beauty is like just I don't know where it takes place, but it looks like it takes place in like it reminds me of a New England parking lot with a mall, so it feels even closer to home.
You're like, I could have seen this happen
Yes,
on my
like
day to day. Yeah.
I knew people in high school who had cameras and made home videos. I could have known these people. I knew people who owned, like, trip pants and Jinko jeans.
Oh man, that's a peak look.
These could very well in a different lifetime. These could have been my friends making this video. it's I could have been the
I
person
get.
holding the camera or watching from the sideline. It's like
I,
honestly,
I like that feeling when you see something like that. That reminds me of my life.
yeah. It's All I'm saying is I'm starting my campaign to get this onto the Criterion Channel, as an important short film.
And you should
Parking
do the
lot brawl.
commentary.
Yes.
You should do the commentary.
That said, for my own work, you of course Indiepocalypse.com. I didn't mention it during the show what Indiepocalypse is. Indiepocalypse, of course, is a monthly anthology of alternative indie games that I publish every month. You can get that at Indiepocalypse.com or Indiepocalypse.com/Patreon. If you want to get a brand new commissioned game for only $5 a month, you can do it there. I talk a little physical editions, Indiepocalypse.com/tapes. You can get physical editions of Indiepocalypse there in little cassette cases with USB sticks. If you want to submit, Indiepocalypse.com/submit. And if you are looking to get indie game releases that are not Indiepocalypse related, I'm trying to push that. I talk the talk about games and physical releases of games that are low, affordable physical releases, but I am also recently been walking the walk. So if you want to get any number of indie releases through the tape market or pizzapranks.com/tape club for a monthly tape club subscription. This month is Shotgun King is this month's release, and with more indie game hits coming soon. And by hits I mean cool things that I like. I think that's all of my stuff. That's enough of my plugs as a host that I can pile on. Sean, Louise, thank you both for joining me here today. A true treat of a show that I enjoy doing. Thank you all out there for tuning in and listening. It's a fun show to do. I love doing shows with people where people can just come and hang out.
Hell yeah.
People ought to. What if we hustled less and we hung out more? That's what I'm thinking. That's my 2024 motto. Or hustle through hanging out. Maybe that's a better phrasing of it.
Also true hanging out. Yeah.
Right.
The hangout hustle.
Right.
We need to create the hustle of hanging out.
As
Exactly.
someone, yeah, who learns a lot about new actors, comedians, etc. just by listening to them all be on each other's shows. I'm like, yeah, what if they have more games and people always on each other's shows all the time? I guess that means they have to have more shows, but there are plenty of shows.
There's a lot of shows. Go listen to shows.
Yeah,
shows are good.
Go listen to shows. Spend some time not being sold something. Just like wander around on the internet and try and find something. Try it. It's fun. There's lots of stuff there.
People put a lot of effort into things.
Yeah. That said, we're leaving. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.